11. Today we're going to talk about tenses. Of course, we probably talked about tenses earlier on in the course, but today we're going to talk about two tenses in particular, which is the simple past and the present perfect. Now, notice that we say we're going to talk about using the simple past and the present perfect. What we mean here is sometimes these two topics have been explained to you in the sense as to how to formulate a grammatical sentence using the simple past or present perfect, meaning the form of the verb, how it looks like, what it looks like, and what additional helping verbs such as have you include in the sentence and where. But this time we're really not going to focus on that in particular as to how to formulate the sentence. We really want to focus on when to use them. You have the simple present tense and the present perfect. When is the good time to use the simple past and or use the present perfect? So when to use them. Usage, that's the important bit. We would like to go, I'd like you to go to page 73, where 73 of your book, and look at the explanation, which is a very nice, very concise explanation that I would like to go through with you. Followed by that is an exercise number 1 on page 73. It stretches to page 74 that we would like to do together. Right. Now, notice that on page 73 here, right, this kind of looks okay. Right, so using the correct tense, simple past, or present perfect. Notice here that it explains the simple past first, right? And it says, simple past tense, use the past tense to describe an action or state that was completed in the past, especially when the specific time is mentioned. Example, I was in Beirut. I was in Beirut in 2005. The state is completed and the time period is mentioned. Okay, that means the state has been completed, that you were there and it's over. Okay, now let's compare that to the present perfect tense. Well, I have an objection of using the word tense here, but let's just call it the present perfect for the time being and leave out tense for a bit. So, use the present perfect tense to describe an action or state that was completed in the past, but we don't know when. So you know that there is this action that was completed in the past, but you don't know when exactly. Let's take an example of that. Okay, I have been to Beirut many times. Okay, now being to Beirut many times is a done deal. It's over. Okay, but we don't know when exactly. Okay, so use the present perfect tense to describe an action that was started in the past and continues to the present. In this case, for or since is often used. So, example, every year since 2002, I have gone to Beirut for a summer vacation. That means I still go. And I have lived in St. Petersburg for 3 years. That means I still live there. So this is kind of a concise explanation as to when to use the simple past or the present perfect. I'm sure this type of explanation has been given to you numerous times while you were in school, probably, and it wouldn't hurt to include it here as your textbook actually does. And this the uses of the simple past and the present perfect develops or enhances your writing techniques. It makes your writing read elegantly, and it's kind of a technique that tells the reader that this article or this piece of writing is interesting, and the writer has an interesting mind and would like to present something far from dull to the reader. Right. Let's take an example of this, and it's the same page, page 73, and the exercise which I'd like you to focus on when you're revising when you're studying for the test, and that is completing sentences with the correct verb form. This type of question is expected on usually most tests in English, especially beginners courses. So you're asked to complete the sentences below with the simple past or present perfect form of the verb in parentheses. Parentheses means the two bent lines around the word. So this is your situation. You live in Tokyo now. This is your current state. You live in Tokyo right now. Okay, what do you say? The verb you have The verb you have to use is live. So you say, you live in Tokyo now. This is your situation. So you say, I have lived in Tokyo for 3 years. Notice that he used for in this sentence. So as we explained up here, remember that we used since and for. Okay, let's take another example. You live in New York right now, or now. So you say, I lived, this is your verb, I lived in Cairo for 3 years. Yes, you live in New York right now, but you're talking about Cairo, which you lived in, and you're finished living, so you use the simple past, Whereas you live in Tokyo, that means you currently are living in Tokyo, and you still are living in Tokyo. So you began living in Tokyo a long time ago that we don't know when, and you still are, so you used the present perfect, have lived. Okay, now let me just, okay. Number one would be my father, and the verb is come, to visit me once a year since 1997. So that means my father still comes to visit me once a year. And this all began in 1997. So my father has come to visit me since once a year since 1997. So has come. Okay, has come to visit me once a year since 1997. My mother come to visit me every year since I arrived. So my mother has come to visit me every year since I arrived. Okay, let's look at 3. have, you have the verb have. 2 job, meaning I obtain, I own, I have, I possess 2 jobs this year. So I have, that's you, and then had. Had. And I have 2 jobs. I have 2 jobs last year. I had 2 jobs last year. Why? Why? Because this is an ongoing thing. This is complete. Okay? Okay. Now, this is the type of exercise that you would expect a similar type of on the exam. You can go ahead and do the rest on the second page. I think you have 4 items. Try to do them on your own. And if you have any problems with that, try to email me and we'll discuss it. Okay, now this is the end of our lecture today. And thank you very much. Please go to lecture number 12.